Welcome back, Guardians. My name is Samlab. Today I ask the question, where is Emperor Calus? For some time now, the gluttonous Emperor vanished out of sight, along with his Leviathan ship. This all happened prior to the warning the Emperor had issued to us about the pyramid ships coming to destroy us. Calus has been aware of their presence, having run into them during his exploits and exploration, in which he had a conversation with the darkness and wished for more power. During Season of the Chosen, the Vanguard received jump coordinates for an errant distress signal from a ship on the outer limits of the Sol system. Near Mars, a ship called the Gkykon hangs close to the black anomaly surrounding Mars. So what does this have to do with Emperor Calus? The Gkykon bears the markings and nautical data of a ship belonging to that of the Emperor. The strange thing, of course, is that it's somewhat devoid of regular life. Scans detect no sign of life, but there is traces of darkness, neutrino scattering and blight energy within the ship. Based on ship logs, it is believed that Calus has been experimenting with Scorn in order to commune with the darkness again, to brute force his way to an appointment with the anomaly or black gulf of pitch black energy, now swirling where Mars once was. Have a listen to this lore entry titled Shell of Gilgamesh. Thus it reads, "I don't want to do this," Catabasis said flatly. His legs hung over the precipice of a towering Vex pillar on Nessus. Calus's pleasure barge whirred as engines fired to life in the distance. A job every now and then's one thing. Catabasis thumbed the small royal jewel seated in his newly gifted imperial coin. He didn't know if this was an invitation one could refuse, and operating outside of the city's jurisdiction had become more and more lucrative in the time when consensus resources felt taxed beyond their limit. Without a hunter vanguard soliciting reports of his activities, it had become all too easy to slip away on illicit solo missions. Gilgamesh, Catabasis' ghost, leered at the Guardian before pivoting to bask in the shadow of the Leviathan. The trust of an emperor isn't something to squander. It was a trust Qatar and Gilly had fought hard to obtain, tracking game through the jungles of Venus, poaching strange quantum jellyfish in the storms of Saturn, putting down Red Legion traitors, anyone seeking to corral Calus and his loyalists into paddock of Kytel's judgment. Catabasis' hunts had always been painted against the grand planetscape of a wild frontier. He wasn't a fan of fish in a barrel, and he didn't want to become one. Something about sitting in a Cabal cruiser in empty space felt awfully like a sealed barrel surrounded by ocean, locked in with nowhere to run. More like I'm the only one left listening to his ranting. Catabasis pocketed the Imperial. His kid is making him antsy, probably reckless too. I swear the Reddies are gunning down as just anyone Calus could find with a name worth taking, he stated nonchalantly. Is that so bad? Used to be the only difference between Reddies and Calus boys was politics. I don't mind throwing some political lead downrange, so long as it's isolated. But this is the dark, little buddy. Feels wrong. Feels like something we shouldn't mess with on our own. You can accept his offer and crew up, or take your sorry self back to the city and wait for orders from an empty chair, Gilly sneered. Think of what we could learn. Those wannabe godslayers chasing stasis on Europa had one thing right. Power decides the future. We should have been there to take it with them. A voyage to the darkness isn't the story I was hoping to retire on. Catabasis chuckled before continuing. Or maybe it is. I've been tired lately. The light is getting thinner, Catabasis. I can feel it. Sharing space with something else we've yet to tap. Gilly swung around to face his guardian. We need something to fall back on, friend. We've been around for a long time. We've always been told to mind our step, stay in the sun, right? But what happened the second we started to choose our own path, out in the shadows? The hunter looked to his ghost. We got stronger, richer, Gilly had a nose for this sort of thing. Every time Catabasis had listened to him, Gilly had led him to a new discovery, a new power, taught him to wield the Arcstaff, taught him to dance through the shadows. These discoveries had their prices, their scars, their lessons. But what are scars to an immortal? One thing is for certain in Destiny, and that is our understanding of the dark and the light is very limited. Over the last few seasons, we have heard so much about the line between multiple spectrums, realms, and great beings. On and on the rabbit hole goes. This entry suggests that we have only been using two aspects of this paracausal power. Truth be told, maybe it's true. Thinking about it, we have infinite possibilities, but we only use the light or the dark. In one way, perhaps there is in fact a multitude of applications for it. A spectrum beyond the binary one-dimensional view, yes, yielded somewhat desirable results. But what does this all have to do with Calus? I'm glad you asked. Calus desires to seek more power, to exist beyond existence itself, to become one with the universe and transcend everything, almost like the Nine, or worse, like the darkness. Have a listen to this lore entry from the book Captain's Log, titled Entry 6, Excess of Avarice. Thus it reads: "This page is blighted with mold and the imprint of memory. The words seep experience into your open mind through the eyes of Calus and Cohethus.
A crowd has gathered to stand with me. The Emperor, soon to be much more. Almost spread word of my arrival, and they clamored to be versed in my presence. In the viewing chamber I spot the Guardian and his little light, as well as an extra morsel of bait. The Ghost watches, while the Guardians resign to the rear. Pity. All come to view the zenith of my labors. I am omnipresent. Every angle that can be seen is seen by statues. At every corner, my plated carriage monitors the crown for apparitions. It is adorned with gold from the Castellium. From my viewing, I paid many lives to pry it free from hive clutches, but it bent most agreeably its ability to bridge minds and bring them to submit. I see my tributes scorn, gibbering nonsense in unison, lashed and plunged to the crown. A thorn-made tool in my brilliance. My daring counselors anchor their psyches and prepare to begin the communion. Greatness is before us. These watchers, I shall thrill them. I clap 4 monumental pairs of hands. Let it begin. I turn all my gaze to the chamber's expansive viewing window as shutters unveil the grave of Mars. Tendrils, bands of phasing darkness spiral from the anomaly's core, enrapturing all of me, beckoning into the depth of its core with whispers. Like hooks through nervous flesh, I gape into the stimulating writhe. Yes. My counselors place their hands on the crown and focus cognition through it. They pry open the scorn's collective synaptic pathways and sew them into fabric of the anomaly's mimetic sphere. The Gkykon strains against the pull. Velocity surges forward to the anomaly. The surrounding reality tears away. We hold. Suspended before the writhe, it fills all sight. Nothing just beyond the bend. Time ceases, and the cosmos arcs to accommodate my will. Now, delight in me. I emulated all of me in your image, stretched my mind to live through so many. I reaped the pleasures and experiences of every vessel, but despite my sundry perspectives, I still only see through my own eyes, and I want more. I peer into the dark nothing. You are oblivion, not a destruction, but a melding of all that has come to pass. I wish to become as you are, to gorge on existence, to collect your promise to elevate me. My laughter is wild. All of my forms transfix on the swirling anomaly. Look upon me. The cosmos bends and snaps as I stand, returned to my feeble reality, ignored. Again, the scorn shriek nonsense in unison. It drowns out of the whispers. It is all any of me can hear. I reach out, as you showed me when we last met. I split open each scorned mind from my carriage, searching for you. Nothing, every time. So I tear open more, fitfully pulling mind from skull, scouring them for your presence. I search until the shrieking can only be heard from distant pens. I meet the eyes of each crew member who would not look away. In them I see you peering back from behind the tension, an observer.
Frantic scrawling ink in the margin reads, "Dug out a spot under the refuse pit. It's still running, so be quick." Now, this wouldn't be the first time that Calus has met with the entity. Yes, I say an, because we don't actually know if what entered the Gkykon could be considered the darkness or the deep, or in fact some kind of watcher, a name or term we have seen come up in the lore quite a few times. But we already know that the darkness and the entity are technically two different things, right? Maybe. And there is no way to truly know without more information about what the darkness is or how the Black Fleet ties into this story. What if? What if the Black Void, where Mars once sat, is actually some sort of paracausal anomaly, a channel perhaps? Have a listen to this lore entry from the book Captain's Log, titled Acherons Walk. Thus it reads, "This page is blighted with mold and the imprint of memory. Those words seep experience into your mind through the eyes of Catabasis." Calus's tomb carriage overlooks the viewing chamber once again. All his forms stand around a garish mass of metal and apprehension. The crown, as he called it. Fewer crew members attend this communion after so many failed attempts. Gilly and I stand above a host of chattering carcasses. Plugs can cable run from them into the flesh of an ether-logged scorn beneath an ugly crown. The gold from the castellium is flush with tarnish, stemming from some kind of lichen that had burrowed its way into the precious metal adornments since the last communion attempt. "I thought gold doesn't stain," I say to Gilly. "It's an expression of purity, like the light." I grunt. Gilly fixates on the crown, on the viewing window and the depth beyond. Barto takes the spot next to me and leans against the railing. Are all guardians ruled by uncertainty? Counselors approach the crown. "Barto, in my experience, people who are too sure of themselves tend to die." The counselors place their hands to the crown, and suddenly I am greatly aware of this room's stillness, our tilt. Barto raises his voice over the intensifying chatter. "Your ghost speaks to the scorn as much as they can. Curious, that's all. Looking for an angle. Something we can use. Ain't that right, Gilly?" I ask, trying to hide my suspicion. Gilgamesh says nothing. Iris frozen ahead as the viewing curtain completes its retraction. Velocity surges forward to the anomaly, tearing away the surrounding reality. The sound of Calus's feverish, multi-fold laughter drowns the whole's groans for mercy. It's different this time. Not a passage, it's a wall. We crash hard, but not all at once. It's a steady, tumbling impact, always down. The cosmic bands bend around us and the shudder as they draw into thin, bright needles of diminishing relevance. Peripheral obliteration, mainlined and burnt through. The space between each needle of light expands until it is. The transition is like a reluctant membrane, a depth of souls frozen over and wailing. The ice grinds against itself as the ecliptic barrier between form and expression. We cross, sunless, adrift on empty currents with no direction. Where's the Emperor? Frantic scrawl inked in the margin reads, they keep an offshoot of the hangar locked if no one's using it. Ah, so here it is. The terrifying truth behind the veil that now covers our beloved Titan, Mercury, Io, and Mars. Could it be? Could it truly be that simple? That our planets never left in the first place but instead shifted into an alternative space? And what happened to Calus? Did he become one with the darkness? Or has he been beamed off ship onto the planet of Mars? It would certainly make sense. Or did Calus run in the midst of the confusion? The ramifications of what this means could potentially be huge and even point towards the eventual return of our planets. In time, all will be revealed. But take heart, Guardians. Be strong and very courageous. Do not turn from the light into the emptiness or nothingness, that you may be successful wherever you go. In the end, the light will prevail, no matter the shape it takes. But that's all I have for you today. I hope you have enjoyed watching and listening to today's video. If you did, be sure to leave a comment below and give this video a like. And consider subscribing and clicking the bell notification to find out when my next upload goes live. Remember that no matter what you're facing at this moment in time, you can do all things. Stay safe and Godspeed.